Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we'll be talking about Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 16 Reunion Part 3.
Ew. This wasn't it. This reunion wasn't it.
Yeah.
Not part 1, not part 2, not part 3.
Yep.
Subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. We're going to insert some conversations within this reunion during this recap because I have some things to say. You ready, Blair?
I'm ready.
Walk us through it, please.
So they touch on how Shamea's mom did something egregious to Porsha's mom. And this is where they talk about how Porsha's mom's childcare business went into foreclosure and Shamea's mom ended up buying the building. Shamea says that apparently they weren't talking before that, but Andy doesn't want to get into all of that. So we can't really get down to the bottom for that.
And I almost turned off the TV right there. So we, outside of the information that we already know as the viewers, we do not know why Porsha's mom and Shamea's mom is going at it.
No.
And Andy doesn't care.
Correct.
All right. If Andy don't care, I guess we don't care, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Cynthia says that, just so you know, Britt told us, Cynthia and Porsha, that you were showing her text messages, but Porsha did let it go in the moment. And Porsha says that when they started, talking about Shamea ended up taking things to the left.
A lot of Cynthia moments in these reunion parts, and I'm like, for someone who is the friend of the show, I understand that people put her as the glue, maybe as like, she's the middleman of everybody because she don't belong to a clique and things like that. But it was just too much Cynthia for me. My issue with the reunion is that, like the first segment, we don't know anything. Usually at the reunion, you actually learn things.
Yeah.
And you actually like tie some loopholes that actually been out there. So in real time, we actually, because I don't really even care about Britt because Britt's not there. In real time, she sent out Porsha these screenshots or basically these stories on Instagram going at Shamea's mom and back and forth, and we don't know nothing about it. And yet we over here talking about why the friendship is basically falling apart, and we're going to compare people going at each other's mothers to actually Britt text messages. Britt text messages don't hold any weight compared to the mama.
Yeah.
Dude, you get what I'm saying? So I'm like, why are you trying to get some clarity, Cynthia, on like, Britt text me? No, it's about the mamas. We need to get back to the mamas. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts so far? Not even on this segment, but what's your feeling on watching the reunion to this point?
I mean, up to this point, I wanted to know more about why the moms were beefing.
Yeah.
And how we saw Porsha's mom pretty much putting in Porsha's ear that Shamea couldn't be trusted either because, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
We saw that in the show.
So I'm trying to figure out exactly what is behind that and why do y'all not trust Shamea and her mom? But, we couldn't get down to it. So I guess we have to continue talking about other things.
I guess so. Let's keep going.
So Shamea owns talking about her friendship problems about Porsha to the other girls.
Yeah.
And Shamea says when it comes to the ladies, they were asking her questions and they were pretty much telling her their feelings about the lopsidedness of the friendship. But Angela and Drew say during their conversation, they didn't ask her any questions. Shamea felt like it seemed like she wanted to get something off her chest, and that's why they pinky sweared to not reveal whatever Shamea talked about because it was something that was heavy on her heart to share. Porsha says in their friendship, Shamea told two ladies, they have this own like friendship group, that Porsha wasn't supportive of her being a peach holder.
Yeah.
And Andy said, well, Porsha did always want Shamea to be a housewife. Porsha didn't potentially, ruin the relationship between Shamea and her fiance at the time when Phaedra said that she slept with Candy and Todd. I guess according to Porsha, Shamea kissed Candy, she kissed Candy, and she's bringing stuff up from 2016 that doesn't even matter.
Everybody was like, hold on, Shamea kissed Candy?
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of stuff. So the thing is with Shamea, she lies.
That's factual.
And don't get me wrong, all the ladies, I'm not going to say all. Has Angela lied? Angela has omitted some things.
Angela definitely lied.
So Angela lies too.
Yeah, she lied.
So I'll say all the ladies on the stage lie.
Pretty much.
And I think that it's hard to get down to the bottom when nobody is willing to be truthful and everybody wants to twist the stories to fit whatever narrative that they've been spinning. So with Shamea, it's like he say, she say, and who wants to get caught in between he say, she say? Shamea said she's not really going out and telling people her business, but she is apologizing for going out and telling people their business. And Angela and Drew are saying, well, you know, we didn't come to you asking questions about your relationship with Porsha. You came to us. So I think Shamea just really had a terrible, terrible reunion. I think that the lying is hurting her. And I know that Porsha lies as well, but for some reason, Shamea couldn't stand against Porsha's stories.
Yeah.
So it was hard to watch.
Yeah. To go to your point, because you actually reminded me of Porsha's intention of this reunion back in part 1.
Yeah.
Of being truthful and moving forward. Did we achieve those intentions?
Nah.
Not even a little bit. We in the same place and people still lying. Shamea came out with a video outside of the reunion, I think in real time, to where she was in tears and crying, basically apologizing to all the castmates of the show, right? And basically, I think what she's feeling in real time with that video that like I saw yesterday is that, like, yeah, I had a bad reunion.
Okay.
And I think she actually lost the plot of basically of her role of being on the show. When I first saw Shamea, I was one of the ones, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I was one of the ones that said, oh, Shamea's basically gonna be the anchor of the show. She's basically gonna be the new star of the show. Now, mind you, I'm not true to this, I'm new to this. I did not know Shamea was a friend of and been on the show and years ago and things like that. But I just think that from that first episode that the show was positioning her to basically be, you know, the star. You get what I'm saying? What I've learned throughout the long season is that she is a lapdog and that she basically is a people pleaser. And you can't be the star or even have a good reunion if really at your core foundation you are a people pleaser. Because one person can say one thing and then you're going to say that, and another person say another thing, and you're trying to please everybody, and in the midst of you doing that, you please nobody, right? Even the viewers, you don't please us. So I think Shamea had a bad reunion, and I think the reason why she apologized in real time, because I think she lost the plot. I think she needs to get back. She got into this whole cliquey thing to where now it's her versus Porsha, it's her and Kelly is in an alliance, or as Angela would say, allegiance and things like that. And I think Shamea's best role is to actually be the role that Cynthia was this season, and that is like basically be on your own, do not basically choose sides. But it's kind of hard for her because even through her and Porsha going back and forth during this reunion, we all can see that she really wants to be close friends with her friend Porsha, right?
And that's the thing that really tripped her up this season, is because she was coming in as the glue, as someone who knew everybody.
Exactly.
And she was trying to make sure people were respectful of Porsha's situation or whatever, you know, Porsha did was stealing that woman's husband and all that type of stuff. And she inserted herself into too many of Portia's fights. Even the situation with Porsha and Ralph and Dennis and Drew. Shamea did not need to be included. She did not need to be at the dinner table talking about a podcast with Ralph.
No.
So by trying to be a loyal friend, and that's what she loves to say when people call her a lapdog, she's including herself into too much drama that doesn't have anything to do with her. And the sad part about it is Porsha doesn't even appreciate it.
No.
Because when Shamea starts talking about, well, I did this and I did that, and Portia's pretty much like, nobody asked you to.
And that's the sad part.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the point of what you was talking about in the show. This was not outside the show. In the show, Porsha talks about how you allude to the fact that you can't trust Shamea. And I'm like, we didn't even get to that in the show? Like, at the reunion, that happened in the show.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, so far, it's a dud. And I understand that Portia's there talking to Andy, like, Andy, didn't I always want Shamea to have a peach and things like that? To basically be a peach holder? And Andy was like, yeah, I know, yeah. So it's like, it just felt like we are going everywhere at the same time, nowhere at this point. We don't know anything new. We've got more questions, but it's questions that we don't even care to get the answer about. It's more like, you know what? Just get out my face. Everybody just get out my face. Because Shamea, this whole beef with Porsha right here makes no sense during the reunion, because we know at the core you want to be friends with this girl.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like all of it just seems like fake. You know what I mean? It just seems like just for a moment. Yeah.
So Porsha hasn't disparaged the friendship. Kelli just wants Shamea to tell Porsha how she really feels, like now is your moment. But Porsha explains that Shamea's moment was when they had their one-on-one conversation. Okay. Shamea noticed Porsha was distancing herself from her, and Porsha said, I was grieving. You were also using, these situations against me as well. And Shamea says that she's not trying to hurt Porsha, but she does feel like Porsha is hanging out with Britt, posting with Britt as kind of like a way to get at Shamea. But Kelli and Shamea, they both feel like Porsha's friendship with Britt is calculated. I do want to say for this that Shamea really didn't have a moment to talk to Porsha about her feelings with the one-on-one, because Porsha was huffing and puffing, clanging her, silverware around,
that was wild,
and pretty much saying like, okay, so what do you want me to do? Versus actually hearing Shamea and validating what she was going through. So I think in this relationship, Shamea doesn't have a safe place to talk, and that's probably why she has to talk about it with other people.
Yeah,
she should just talk about it to a therapist and figure out a way to get out of the friendship.
Exactly.
But the thing is, with that friendship with Porsha, you're not going to be able to say how you truly feel and actually be heard. Porsha's not going to accept it.
You don't need a therapist. Get out the friendship. The mother's already beefing.
Well, I think Shamea needs help with getting out. For some reason, like, she can't find her way out of this friendship to save her life.
I really,
or maybe she's out of it now, but you can see she's desperate to get back in.
But my thing is, like, she already apologized to Porsha in like that new video. So it's like, I think the thing about this whole friendship thing, even though Angela can say, like, you know what, I didn't ask you no questions. I did say, Angela, it was strategic on your part to basically bring up a conversation you had with Shamea that didn't happen on the show, by the way, but you brought it up in real time on the show. And because, Porsha made fun of basically saying that she could sleep with your husband if she wanted to. So you, which I am not mad at, say, you know what, I'm going to ruin your friendship, So, but my thing about it is, it just looks sad to me that Kelli is over here as basically your new bestie, Shamea, is basically saying, hey, I just wish you could tell Porsha about how you feel. I'm just like, Shamea is a grown woman. And I don't know what this hold or this weird relationship. I said many times throughout this reunion, I don't get some women relationships because it's like weird to me, and this is one of those relationships that I don't get, right? To where you can't tell your friend what's going on, or you can't drop your friend whenever they don't treat you right. I don't know whatever relationship that Shamea and Porsha have, but it's weird. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's very weird and kind of off-putting to watch, to be honest.
So Porsha says this was a hard year for her. She wants to be where she feels comfortable, and she doesn't feel comfortable in her relationship with Shamea right now. And she doesn't have any more to offer her at this moment either. Shamea says the difference between them is that she would find bandwidth for Porsha, but she does ultimately want peace for them both.
Stop right there. That's a weird thing to say. That's a weird thing. That's a weird response for Shamea to say.
Actually, I understand where she's coming from.
I know where she's coming from, but no, right? This woman literally said out her mouth that she's going through things and she ain't really got space. She ain't got time. She ain't got the patience to deal with you that's supposed to be her sister.
Yeah.
Right? If my brother or my sister actually said that to me, right? I'm like, oh, I know where I stand in your life.
Exactly. That's the answer to where our relationship truly lies and how you truly feel about me.
So I don't need Shamea in that moment to be like, well, I try to find the bandwidth, basically Shamea, and truth be told, Shamea is going through a lot. Shamea's like, I go through things too, but I try to find a bandwidth so that I can basically fit you in. And I'm like, and that's the problem, right? Because it's not a secret about how Porsha feels about you. And that's my thing about Shamea. I think Shamea knows 100% how Porsha feels about her, right?
Yeah.
And she said it right here. And this is not the first time she said something like this or alluded to that, even with her playing with the forks and knives and spoons on the table, right? And my thing is, now if you decide, after you have all the information of how somebody feels about you, and you decide to still find the bandwidth to fit them in, you are doing a disservice to the people that actually care about you and things of that nature. That's just how I feel, right? And I'm like, hey, stop finding space for someone that's not finding space for you.
Yeah, and I will say I think that Shamea is fair to be hurt by that.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think she's fair to be hurt by that because you do have some people who just seem to can't handle much of nothing, you know. And I will say Porsha has been through a lot, so I'm not saying that's her situation.
Yeah.
But you know, some people do find a way to go through what they're going through, but still be there for other people. And Porsha just is not that person. And I think that hurts Shamea because she knows that she is that person, and she would love that type of friendship to be reciprocated back to her with this person that she loves so deeply.
Yeah.
And I give her all the space to be hurt by it, but like you said, you pretty much need to reassess and figure out what the relationship is actually going to be compared to what you wish it to be. So Andy says, you know, you have to say how you feel so it can be the backbone of an honest friendship when talking to Shamea. And Shamea knows that she chooses to sweep things under the rug. It is her coping mechanism because of all the things that she has to deal with. She can't deal with all of those little issues in the moment, so she chooses to let it slide. But the thing is, she doesn't really let it slide because it festers, and then she's over here having conversations about issues instead of having it with the person, which, don't get me wrong, it seems really hard to have those conversations with Porsha because she doesn't really want to listen.
Exactly.
So, but that's when it comes to reassessing the friendship.
And that was my problem with Andy's comment right there. I felt like that comment right there was kind of putting the responsibility on Shamea, which she should share some responsibility in the sense of, hey, that's why you got to be honest in your relationship. That's why you got to have a backbone and things like that, and actually speak up for yourself. Andy, did you just hear her sister, her best friend, right, say that she don't have space for her because she's going through a lot? I felt like a lot of the undertones of this reunion, even from Andy, was on some like, let's not do too much on Porsha. Let's not question Porsha too much. Let's not basically nail her to the board because she's going through a lot.
But I will say that when it comes to Shamea, she didn't position herself in a way to stand against that.
No,
like,
100%.
Porsha, the way that she was like describing situations and explaining things, it was as though Shamea was asking too much of her in a way. You know what I mean? And so I'm just like, Shamea, the way that she presented her situations and explained herself, it wasn't like a fair combating of what the truth was in their relationship. You know?
Yeah. I just wish that we can share the responsibility, or share the blame rather, to where you can actually hear somebody say that they don't really care about you enough to basically fit you into their life or what they're going through, where we actually seen it in real time on the show, to where we literally in part 2 talked about the time where Porsha was talking about, oh no, that's not Shamea, that's Drew, right? And everything basically leads to the point or leads to the fact that Porsha really do not care about Shamea to the level that Shamea cares about Porsha.
And Shamea could have pulled out those examples on the show and asked her, if you're my friend, then why are you doing these things?
Yeah, she's not a good reunion person. But you know what? She's a rookie.
So we get to Drew's package, and the kids are in therapy. She feels like it is helping because we know her mom said the kids were acting different. We saw the video where Ralph and Drew were cooking together, and she said it was just a positive co-parenting moment, and Ralph made it into something that it wasn't.
Stop right there. This is one of the examples that I mean when I say Drew be lying. I know a lot of people be like, why y'all be calling Drew a liar and things like that when everybody lie? Like Drew. It was weird.
Yeah. It was more than just co-parenting.
Exactly. We wasn't supposed to see it.
Yeah.
Like, truth be told, the fact that Ralph is in the basement and things of that nature, that is basically y'all co-parenting in the same house. Meaning that he could come up when you gone. The kids know he's in the basement. He can talk to the kids. She even says she does not stop him from even having a relationship with his kids. Him feeding you out of his hand is not co-parenting.
No, it's not.
You calling him daddy is not co-parenting. The thing about it is, it sent us mixed signals, because you was a damsel in distress throughout this whole season going through your divorce, which rightfully so. But it sent us mixed signals because it's like, oh, in real life, you eat it out of his hand, literally. The problem is we wasn't supposed to see it. Don't try to explain it away and try to make it seem like Ralph made it look like something that it wasn't. No, it wasn't supposed to come out. That's how I feel about their whole divorce thing.
So we get into the weird court orders, the living in the basement, kids not being able to know about the divorce. And Drew says it's public record. It's all in the paperwork.
Okay.
Ralph brought a woman to the basement, apparently. And I guess the woman was also at the school and approached Drew. And she was able to see the woman's license plate or her license and also her name and all that type of stuff. So Andy asked the question, why was there no compassion for Drew and her divorce? And Kelly says that she was hoping they would have been able to hit it off more to lean on each other. But Drew feels like Kelly never gave her a chance. You were already calling me a liar when you met me. Mm-hmm. Kelly talks about how she didn't make the purchase at the Balmain event, and Drew says that they didn't have her son's size, so she ended up getting it later. But the whole point was, if you bought it there at that event, the money would have gone to the foundation, and that's why it was such a big issue that she didn't buy it there. But Drew was like, "Well, if you'd have let me know, I could have just donated to the foundation."
Just another example.
I just feel like Drew, like you. Semantics. For real, like I'm just like, you're coming across slow now because because you're at the foundation and purchasing to put money towards it.
Exactly.
So why would you buy something from the store 10 days later that has nothing to do with the event that you're supporting? So yeah, so I think she's lying.
It's a full entree.
Y'all can say she's confused if you want, but I think she's lying.
She's not confused because if she is who she's supposed to be, remember, Drew is she's a triple threat, as everybody keeps saying, right? Drew, this ain't the first time you've been to a charity or basically a thing that goes to the foundation and things of that nature, to where you buy something in the store and things of that nature, and it goes to something like a foundation or like a charity. If it was only about buying something offline, everybody would have brought something offline.
Exactly.
So like, do not try to do this whole semantics with a side of lies on us. This is an example of Drew be lying. But guess what? Everybody be lying. So I'm not basically holding it against Drew to like the point to where like, oh, I don't like her because she lies. I'm just trying to show y'all that even though Drew had a good season, this is basically old Drew popping up in the new season with her lies. It makes no sense.
So we start talking about the conversation where Drew said the royalties would pay for PJ's college. Yeah. Porsha feels like the way Shamea related, it made her more upset than when she actually saw it. But Shamea said it was said shady, and I told you that she said it shady. And she was like, you know what? I'm just going to mind my business for here on out. And Drew says, honestly, it probably would be in your best interest to mind your business. Why did Shamea set things up with Porsha to meet with Ralph? And Shamea said she feels like she was being a loyal friend, like Angela was to Drew. And Angela said, I'm too big to be sitting on people's laps.
Whoa. That was a bar. I ain't gonna hold you. Because basically, Shamea tried to get off the, hey, guess what? If I'm a lapdog to Porsha, guess what? You a lapdog to Drew. Angela, I ain't no lapdog now.
Yeah.
I ain't no lapdog. And Shamea, this is what I mean, like, this is what I mean where Shamea just be lying. She knows what she was doing. And the whole thing about it is, you know what makes it worse?
And not only that,
go ahead.
Porsha also said that she did that just to be petty and to get back. So why can't Shamea admit that she was being petty with Porsha? Like what are we really doing here?
Here's the thing. Shamea, what Blair said literally 10 minutes ago at the top of this show, right, is an exact example of Shamea. You should just mind your business, right? You could be a loyal friend, but you decided to fight too many of Porsha's battles.
Yes.
Battles that Porsha didn't even view as battles. Porsha said she saw the scene and was like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
But yet you over here now got your sword ready to fight Drew throughout the whole season. This is basically battle number 1. Battle number 2, you said 5 languages, and you're talking about Spanish, French, and now you picking up fights for no reason. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you mad that Drew called you a lapdog, where you actually sat on this woman's lap as a grown woman and barked on the show. I saw it.
Yeah,
I'm not lying. Right. I saw it, right? And then on top of that, you met up with Ralph while she's going through an active divorce with her husband, right? Whole time you the one crying. I think it was part 2. We're basically saying, hey, that whole Phaedra thing could have potentially ruined my marriage and things of that nature. But yet you can't see the other side of the coin of, hey, you meet up with Ralph while she is actively going through a divorce with this man. Yeah, can actively mess up their current life. Like, that's why with Shamea, it's kind of like, yeah, we don't understand you.
Right.
Because, like, you're not making no sense. But like I said, this is an example of Shamea, you picking battles that you didn't even have to fight. And guess what? Porsha don't even care enough to even cover you in that fight to be like, no, you shouldn't have said that, Drew. But whole time, she go side with Drew, where whole time, this is the crazy part, Porsha siding with Drew where they was enemies for this season.
Exactly. Crazy.
So that means that even though you, my sister, Shamea, speaking as Porsha, I'm going to side with the person I'm beefing with this season so I don't tell my real story just to slight you even more, even though you're supposed to be my best friend's sister. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you over here talking about, I find bandwidth for you though, Porsha. No, like, I'm sorry. Those relationships is weird to me.
So we start talking about whether or not Black is dating Drew. Drew's dating Black. She ends up handing out some of his hookah stuff to everyone, and Andy's wondering, well, if you promoting his stuff, then maybe you are dating him. And she says friends promote friend stuff.
This is stupid.
So I really don't care who Drew is dating or not, honestly.
Like, who cares?
So the guys join the ladies. Gerald is with the kids, and Shamea just says this just isn't his thing.
Okay. I mean, sure.
Dennis talked to Porsha about working with Drew. He said it wasn't really in depth. He talked to Ralph, and he felt like Drew would handle the woman's side of things by talking to Porsha.
Yeah.
And Porsha is saying he didn't talk to me about it.
Okay.
Dennis says that Drew wasn't trying to sleep with him. And Ralph says, well, Drew told him that Dennis was trying to sleep with her. And Drew is telling him, number one, you need to stop lying and playing the victim, as well as the fact that Porsha starts to chime in and ask him, well, what were the text messages saying then when you said that, you know, I'm trying to get money, I'm not trying to F you. And Drew was like, well, clearly that conversation, that text message wasn't sent to me. It wasn't directed at me. So I have no understanding of like what that was about. Yeah. And Dennis just, you know, doubles down that Drew wasn't trying to do that.
Dude, you know what's funny, Blair?
What's that?
While watching part 1, part 2, and part 3, I knew we was watching bad reunions, and you hope at some point of the reunions or like within the parts that it would actually pick up. It was at this part of the reunion where I was like, oh, this is definitely probably the worst reunion I've ever seen in my life. Because it just, for one, Dennis is sitting behind Porsha. They're not together, right? Ralph is on the other side sitting behind Phaedra, right? So he's not even sitting behind his current legal wife and things like that. Charles is the only husband out of everybody who's there that actually like with his wife and not getting an active divorce and things of that nature. And I'm like, this is really not the housewife of old, like the housewives of old and things like that. You have a lot of women up there that don't even have men or even husbands that want to participate on the show, you know, with Shamea and Gerald. And guess what? That's his right. Yeah. But hopefully he knows that, hey, it will eventually be a detriment to Shamea's like storyline, because we got to basically blur your face every time you in the camera, or if you even in the camera, you get what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, even though I understand eventually we are going to get to Charles and Angela's part of the story, I'm like, with Shamea, Gerald is you need at least some more husbands on the show, because I think it makes for a better show, in my opinion, because you get some of the scenes in-house. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Besides trying to build up these fake storylines as Blair just reviewed just now.
But I think that's the thing. Like, when you're a housewife on the show with a husband, we want to see the dynamic of the relationship. Yeah. If you're a single housewife, that's fine. You can be single, but to be a housewife with a husband and the husband not to be involved, then it is a little bit disjointing. Yeah. You know, and so I know that's not Shamea's under her control. No, it's not. And I know, you know, her husband has the right to choose what he wants to and what he doesn't want to participate in. But then it leaves her open for jabs of where's the husbands. And that's unfair, you know?
And guess what? Porsha, she don't get away with this either. Even though she's going through her divorce and things like that, the reason why they brought her on the show is for her to talk about the current state of her marriage and things of that nature. And she basically did hopscotch with that. So the fact that we even got Dennis even in the reunion, and this is a segment.
Well, the thing is, I get it, because he was a storyline for both Porsha and Drew. So, but I think that, I don't know, I kind of feel like, you know, I'm Married to Medicine, to where we have a separate portion with the guys. Yeah. And I get that they also have the guys standing behind, like the women are sitting behind the women and stuff. But I just feel like these, other than Charles, like the men aren't really there to support their ladies necessarily. Yeah. So they could have had their own segment of getting their perspective off for the situations. It wasn't a supportive role.
Let me make myself clear. Maybe I wasn't clear, right? We are about to go through a segment right now about Dennis and Britt. This was wasted time. Yeah. Dennis shouldn't have even been there, because even though he worked with Drew, they shot probably 2 scenes together, if that, and the whole time Dennis was there as basically a decoy for Porsha not to tell her real story. So there's really no storyline that Dennis is really a part of outside of the fake storyline that Porsha is trying to put Dennis in. So we are basically now about to go through the whole Dennis whole, oh, you over here sending a necklace to Britt, and you're doing this, and then we talking about Drew and Black, and I'm like, all of these little side stories and these detours that really doesn't lend any clarity to the main story of basically this season.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that to me, it was wasted time. It was a wasted segment. It made no sense to me.
Yeah. So, like you said, Dennis dated Britt a long time ago.
Who cares?
Kelly shared a couple of phone conversations with Dennis, but it was strictly business.
Who cares? Exactly.
Ralph said that he didn't bring a woman into the basement. She came to the house, but she didn't come inside. They were working on like workout content together. And he says when the cameras are off, Drew is very loving towards him and it confuses him, and he just wants to raise their children. Drew says this energy is because of his press tour with all the tweeting that he did about her mother and her father who has passed away. And he hasn't apologized for what he said yet. Cynthia tells him that he needs to be mindful of what he puts on social media because it brings everyone into your business. And that's exactly what Ralph wants.
Here's the thing. Do I believe Ralph is a liar? Of course, right? But it's kind of hard for me to actually go against what he said about off camera. Drew is loving and nice to me because I literally saw her eat a piece of meat out of his hand.
Yeah.
So, like, that's very different than what we saw on the show. So, do I believe him? Sure. Do not believe him at the same time? Sure. I feel like it's night and day with both of them, to be honest.
So we get into Charles seeming like he didn't care for Angela throughout the season. And his point was that he doesn't put on for cameras. He wouldn't be here if he didn't love Angela and the kids. People say that they didn't know he was married. And his response is, I don't know, a lot of people are married.
That's true.
People say they know him when they really don't. And he's talking about how he just met Shamea on the show, but Shamea chimes in and saying how they met at the wedding. And Charles says, I was at the wedding there. I was there, but I didn't meet you. But we do get pictures of basically Charles, like, you know, there and them in pictures with Charles. And Phaedra, when she chimes in talking about how she's met Charles on multiple occasions, I guess she was around and friendly with Charles when he was dating Sheree.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is you can be around somebody, but does it mean that you like know them or whatever the case may be? Could they have met Charles? Yes, but Charles is a really well-known guy. He's probably met a lot of people he doesn't remember. Yeah. So for these women coming on here saying like, oh, I know Charles and I didn't know he had a wife and all that type of stuff, it makes it seem like you were like in his life more than you actually were. So I think that Angela and Charles definitely have a right to be offended. They're trying to make it, you know, be like, oh girl, I wasn't really coming at you by saying that.
Yeah, they're trying to change it.
No, like you were trying to make it seem like I was a hidden wife.
You're right. I think this is an example of clout chasing. Because I'm sure they was in the room during the wedding and things like that, and they probably like, oh, that's Charles Oakley. Oh, that's Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley, can I get a picture? Can I get a picture? And sometimes if you are in a room with a celebrity, it will sometimes give you the illusion that you are a celebrity too, or like you're on that same level. So that's why Phaedra could come on here and say, we've been in the same rooms and things like that. And Charles would be like, but I don't know you.
Yeah.
Because when I walk in the room, they know me as Charles Oakley.
Yeah.
They know me as the enforcer. You know what I'm saying? So even when they showed that picture of Shamea and Charles basically taking a picture, I can only imagine how many pictures he used to take back in the day with people like, oh, Charles Oakley, hey, it's nice to meet you. Can I take a picture? And if everybody who had a picture with Charles Oakley was to say, I know Charles Oakley, he would be like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
So them providing that picture does not prove that Shamea actually like knew Charles Oakley or even like met him to where Charles Oakley can basically be like, oh yeah, I know you.
Yeah, and in this moment, Shamea would have done best just to
be quiet.
It really wasn't nothing to argue about.
Another battle that really didn't serve no purpose. You know what I'm saying?
So we learned Charles dated Sheree back in 05, 06, something like that.
Okay.
They talk about the Wendy Williams situation and how she misunderstood Angela, thinking that Charles had an outside baby. We also learned that, of course, the Madison Square Garden incident was tough on them. He needed a lot of validation from outside women, and they went through therapy, and they are on the other side. All of these things we knew throughout the season. Nothing new.
Nothing new.
Kelly wants to know basically what her ex-husband said to Ralph, and Ralph said it was really just the circumstances about y'all's divorce. And Kelly mentions to Drew that, you know, you have a man who wants to continue taking care of his children, and that's something to be grateful for.
So far at this point of the show, I'm watching the show and I'm like, so really Charles had the best showing in the reunion, and his segment was only 5 minutes.
That's why they had to show all his clips, because he's the only one with some one-liners.
So I'm in my head, I'm like, I think this reunion, I think what happens is this, right? I want to give grace to Shamea, Kelly, Angela. You get what I'm saying? Because it was very rookie heavy. And even though we have veterans there, like Cynthia, we have Drew there, we have Phaedra and Porsha. Phaedra and Porsha is the worst vets of it because Porsha is not there to basically be honest about anything. And Phaedra is basically doing what me and Blair doing right there. She came in the last 10 days of basically the showing, and she's basically giving side commentary while Andy's trying to get down to what's ever going on. Mm-hmm. So the whole time, Phaedra was like, wow, So Phaedra's not adding anything. I think this reunion would have did a lot better if we actually had a vet, actually like an actual real first chair. And I'm talking about like a real first chair that can actually like contribute to the season and actually control the reunion. I think, and the person that come to mind is Wendy from like Potomac, right?
I was thinking about Kenya. They were missing Kenya.
Kenya, for one, it actually would have served y'all. Honestly, the truth, if y'all just would have did 3 parts of talking about the whole Kenya situation, I'm not even gonna hold you, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, they needed someone, not Porsha, to be a real first chair and a real vet of the season to actually, for it to have a good showing, to actually hold people accountable. And I don't think Cynthia would have been that person, or like she wasn't that person enough to basically make this reunion good. This was a terrible reunion, probably the worst of all time that I've seen.
And that's all I got.
Question. Let's talk outside the show. Rumors have come out that Kenya's not coming back next season. Is that a good decision? Do you agree with that decision? Do you think she's needed?
The only reason I say I'm fine with that is because the show is taking a whole different direction.
Okay.
And if what Kenya said is true about them getting a Love and Hip Hop somebody or whatever coming onto the show,
mm-hmm.
I think we're losing the Housewives shine of the show.
Yeah.
And I think that it could do well in whatever route is taking, but I feel like it doesn't have a clear direction, and I rather Kenya not be on it because I think that her run was good with the people that she had there to spar off of at the time. But with the people on here currently, I mean, she literally will run circles around these women.
Yeah.
And not to say it won't be fun, but I don't want to see Kenya in a bully role, and I think she really was trying to take the back seat this season. But these women are just so delayed, y'all.
Yeah.
Like it's just not even fair. So I think they need to have their own shot at creating whatever it is they're trying to create.
And I think this is a bad route to take. Okay, let me go with this. Only reason why I would say that I agree with not bringing Kenya back. If you don't bring Kenya back next season, don't bring her back ever again. Then, right? Basically, like retire her. Mm-hmm. Right? Don't like play with it. Don't delay her return. Right? And my issue with going with the whole Love and Hip Hop thing is you already had a season of that this season with Britt. Mm-hmm. And even though Britt may be an outlier, I wouldn't trust bringing someone like Britt on the show, because guess what? When Kenya did spar with her, the girl threatened to shoot her.
Yeah.
Dude, you get what I'm saying? So it's like you don't even know how to do TV good.
Yeah.
Because on your show, y'all get to fighting. We're not really trying to fight. We're just trying to do like some type of sparring with the words and with the one-liners and things like that. So that's why
But they alleged K. Michelle, so I'm saying like I think K. Michelle would have better ways of going about it than Britt necessarily. But at the same time, I'm not too interested in seeing K. Michelle back on the screen, honestly.
I'm not interested in K. Michelle because I think she's past her prime on being on TV, on being on reality TV. I think during that time on Love and Hip Hop when K. Michelle came out and things like that, I think it was great TV because Love and Hip Hop was still fresh and things like that. She was great with going back with Rashida and things like that. But it's like, I really want them to make new stars because
I agree with you.
Because I'm like, if you make new stars, it would actually bring more, like you could actually push the show longer.
Because I feel like Angela was probably like a good example of that. Like I was not expecting anything, you know what I'm saying? But she really became the breakout star of the season. Yeah. So more of those.
Yeah, it would actually make the show go on longer and longer. If you bring K. Michelle on, it feels like okay, you're renting her. It's like she gonna be here for maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 seasons, but then you gonna be back in the same position of trying to find a new star. Get some more rookies in here that can actually do TV good. You get what I'm saying? Kelly was okay. Shamea, I should give her another season, but give her some fresh faces, and then you will have breakout stars like Angela. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
I need you to subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. Thank you everybody who watched with us on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Just to give y'all a rundown, I said earlier this year that we are not doing Real Housewives of Potomac, and I'm being honest about that. I'm not going back down that route, but I do want to do L.A. I think it's L.A. or is it Los Angeles?
You talking about Beverly Hills?
I do want to do Beverly Hills whenever that comes out. I do want to do Salt Lake City.
Okay.
Whenever they return and things like that. So make sure y'all look out for that, and we see y'all next season.
Bye.